So ignition's on. To try it. Oh. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel and another video on Serious About Salvage. So it's now the new year, so I hope you all have had a Merry Christmas. I hope you all enjoyed the videos I put out. It would appear so, because we got quite a lot new subscribers and plenty of views, plenty of comments, and it was good. So I hope you enjoyed them, and hello to all the new subscribers. So yes, Happy New Year as well. It is the new year. It is actually today, the 1st of January for me. It's a Sunday, and I've been allowed out to play for a couple of hours before family duties have to resume. So this video, hopefully, is going to be exciting. Back on the Audi S1. I've been plotting over Christmas how to get this car running off the key. I have told you in the past about a guy called Miles, sent me a lot of information to try. I checked all them bits and pieces and I really didn't get anywhere. So what I've decided to do, to simplify the whole thing, I'm going to put my own new circuit in with a starter relay. So there's no reason why this shouldn't work at all. So there's going to be quite a lot of talking in this video. We're obviously going to be wiring up a relay in a bit of a roundabout fashion. It's not going to be permanent to start with, so don't get too carried away. It's just going to be light on top. Make sure it works, and then we'll look at making it look factory, look original afterwards. So the best thing to do, I think, is turn around, and we'll go through exactly where we were up to first in the previous videos. And if you haven't watched the previous videos, you're best starting off from the beginning with this car, because it was a fire damaged car. We put a complete loom in it. A massive job. So I'll put the videos up in the top corner now. Go and start from the beginning, work your way up to this one, and you'll know exactly where we're up to and why we're doing this. So yes, I'm going to spin you around and we'll talk about where we're up to and what we're going to do. So here's the car, still tucked away in the naughty corner. What I have done prior to just turning the camera on is I've just connected everything back up on the car, because I did disconnect everything and the battery was dead. So we're back exactly where we were when we left the last video now. And if you remember, I was starting to get concerned, I think, that I'd done more damage because we couldn't get it to run anymore. But all is okay. It appears the only issue was the battery had drained that much. There wasn't enough power to start the car anymore. So if I now, for instance, just open this door up, this is where we left it with all these wires, and we've got enough in there to turn it on, and the ignition all comes on. You can hear the fuel pump, you can hear the fuel rail, everything is turned on in the car. But the issue was turning the key did nothing. Okay, we tried with the clutch pedal, brake pedal, neutral, handbrake, all that kind of stuff. Nothing worked. But what we did know was, if we come round to the front, sorry, it's a bit of a mess in here. Like I said, I'm on here for 2 hours, so I don't want to drag everything out, waste time. I could be playing. So if we come back to our link we've got in our starter motor, and we touch that to a known good power supply, what happens? The car starts. Okay. The car starts, the car runs. So that is good. Turn the Mac off. So also in the previous video, we tried to run a wire from a known 12 volt power on the column to the starter, and it didn't work. Now, the reason why that didn't work was we had the voltage, we didn't have enough amps, and that's why it was drawing all the power from the car and killing everything. The power supply we've just gone from has more than enough ampage to fire the starter, and that's why it works from here. Okay, does that all make sense? Excuse me. Right, so let me just put, I borrowed the original starter relay earlier, put that back in. So what we need to do, we know which pin on the column goes 12 volts on that final flick for the start, and as you come off the flick the 12 volts go. So we're happy in there, I know what pin. I now need to install a new relay in the engine bay, and I've got a little drawing I've done at home. This is, let me move it over here. This is my relay, not very technical. This is my relay, it's my 4 pins. Yeah, I've got a 5-pin relay, the centre pin doesn't matter, we're not going to use it. I bought 12 volt, 30 amp, 5-pin relay. 30 amp is more than enough to fire the starter, even on surge. These starters are protected by a 30 amp fuse, so I went with a 30 amp relay. It'll actually pull 60 peak and continue 30 to 40 it says. So we've got our fuse, our relay. We've got 12 volt supply for ignition start coming in to 85, okay? Parallel to 85 we've got it grounded. Alright, and then on the top we've got permanent power from an own power supply with enough amps from the engine bay coming in, and out the bottom we've got it going to the starter motor with an inline 30 amp fuse I'm going to put in to make sure the starter motor is protected. Okay, so if the motor starts to deteriorate and starts pulling too many amps, it'll blow the fuse and not do more damage back. So what happens with these relays, now don't quote me on all this, I'm not an expert. When you put 12 volt supply to 85, the coil energizes, and I think by magnetic force it basically puts a connection between 30 and 87, which basically is doing exactly what we've just done with that jumper. Yeah, because 87 is your starter motor and 30 is your positive. That piece of wire we've just put to that power supply is exactly what 30 to 87 is going to do in our relay. But what we're doing is we're triggering that 30 to 87 connection by the 12 volt supply on the ignition, and that leg there won't pull any amps. So that's what the problem is. That's the safety side of things. In theory, you could, well, no, there's no point talking about that. Run. No, I'm not going to ignore that. Like I said, this is the safe way to do it. There was other ways I could do it, but I wasn't happy that it was safe. This is the safe way to do it. That's like basically imitating what the actual car does on its original wiring system. But because of all this keyless system, I can't figure out what's going on. So the simplest way to do it is for us to do this. That will get us starting on the key. I know that. Will it solve all the other issues? I don't know until we get to that point. We need to get it up and running. I need to get it on the ramp, because I think I remember the only one error I was getting on the dash was for a tank malfunction, and I need to get it on the ramp and up in the air to survey all that. So first things first, let's jerry rig this relay up. I've got a load of connectors. I've got a load of I've got the inline fuse holder, and this wire I've been using here, I've got a massive roll of that. That is 30 amp wire, right? So it's got plenty of oomph in it to be able to hold, and you know, it's not going to be energized for long anyway, so it'll be fine. And worst case, like I said, this is temporary. We can upgrade things if we need to after we know that it works. Okay, enough talking. So this relay, it's got a diode resistor thing in it as well to stop current coming back, which is important. It's just gonna hang around here for now. We'll try and incorporate it into this box, I think, at some point. I think that might be a good idea, because this is obviously going to be waterproof, and try to, well, yeah, that's for a later date. It's going to be around here somewhere. We're going to have a wire running into the ignition for the 12 volt feed, and then we're going to have a ground coming out the other side, and then I need to pick up some kind of like really nice power supply basically off any of these. It could be off that one. They're all connected. So off one of these into it, and then the other side of it going to the starter. Makes sense to me. Let's just get it done, and once it's all wired up and in place, I'll run through it and then we'll try it. Simple as that. So let's try it. I'm excited. Let's try it. Right then, I think we are all set up. So should we run through it and just make sure it's all right? So we've got our relay, 12 volt from ignition, comes in on 85. 85, yeah. It goes out to the starter motor on 87. '87's there. That goes down to the starter. Permanent power comes in on 30.
yeah? And then you got a ground on 86. Where's 86? 86 is there. Yeah. Right. Should we give it a go, see what happens? Fingers crossed. So obviously bear in mind this is skipping the clutch pedal, brake pedal, anything that it needs to start. All of them are gone. So ignition's on. To try it. Oh. Still shorting everything out when I go to start it. See how all the lights are going when I go to start? Which means I'm not getting, I think, I'm not getting enough power to the relay to fire it. Is that what it means? Well, all the wiring's right, and we know there's enough power from here to start it, so we tried that straight to the starter and it fires up. My ground's on. The starter motor's grounded through the gearbox. Why won't that work? It should work. Alright, I need to do some playing here. What I need to know is my 12 volts from my ignition enough to be pulling this relay? Because that's the only side that can be the issue. We're using same power to start it, ground is ground. That can't be wrong, that can't be wrong, that can't be wrong. It can only be the 12 volts that we're pulling from the ignition is not enough. That can be the only thing. So I'm going to have to have a little play. Let me mess around, see if I can figure something out, and I will come back with an update, hopefully. Right. I think I found the cause. So if I turn ignition on, what I've done is I've just removed the wire that I had for the 12 volt trigger on the ignition barrel, which is this. Yeah, it's a bit, like I said, cowboy, but it's doing the job for now. This is going straight to my relay, which we've already discussed is basically my wire that says 12 volt from ignition start, but it's not plugged into the ignition. If I put 12 volts power, a good power source to this, which I know is good off here, it's then going to go through my relay, use my relay to trigger, energise and send power to the starter, okay? Which it does. Perfectly fine. Okay. So, that tells us that our power we're getting from this ignition isn't enough, which is the exact issue we had right from the beginning. So now I need to figure out how I can get a strong enough supply from this ignition on my flick to start, and that will make it all work. Which brings me back to my first concern, which is why I wanted to put this relay in. I know which two pins on that ignition is in and out on your flick for main power, right? I know which two pins it is. I could quite easily run a wire to, or should I say from, this bank to my ignition. On one side of that, what we're going to call is the switch for the start. And on the other side of that, simply connect our lead back up, which comes back to the relay. My concern was running all the power that's generated through that ignition switch and whether it would last. But it looks like that's the only thing I can do. So I suppose the question is, I need to know how many amps that ignition switch can handle. That's the question. Okay, right, well, I think we've got a definite grasp on exactly how we need to get around this and make it work. We just need to now find a better voltage supply. I mean, it's showing 12 volts. It is showing 12 volts on the pin I was using, but it's obviously not. It's not pulling enough amps to pull the relay. Which, like I said, is probably the exact issue that we were having originally, where the wires on the ignition weren't pulling enough amps to pull the original relays. I think maybe it's but again, with all this keyless system involved, I'd rather just make my own system, and then I know for a fact none of that, it's not causing issues because I'm making it run off this. Do you know what I mean? I think we could spend days and days and days fault finding, trying to put a full keyless system in this, plugging in all the modules and not get anywhere, and then need programming where I can just make my own relay starter loop and just forget about all that. The key still works, the fob still works, locks it, opens it. Again, like I said, until we get it all run off the key, I'm not going to know what other issues there is, but it's one step at a time. It's a complicated job, this. So I'm going to have to do some research now, because I want to know how many amps these ignition barrels can handle, first and foremost. And if they can handle enough, then I'll find a decent power supply within the engine bay, run it to the ignition, use the ignition switch to run them back through my trigger to my relay, and then the relay is taking care of starting the engine. We know it works, we've tried it, and everything should be fine there. So let me do some research. I'll have to come back to you, and we'll continue this video as soon as I know, really, what I can and can't do. That's the main thing, making sure it's safe. I want to make sure it's safe. I know I can make it work, I just want to make it safe. That's the key. Okay, right, I'll be back as soon as possible, hopefully with some knowledge, or enough knowledge to be able to see this through. Okay, I'm back. I decided to come back. I just couldn't work out why putting 12 volts from the ignition wasn't working to fire this relay when power from there was. So I've come back. I've been playing around for about half an hour now, and I found another 12 volt supply on the ignition to power this relay off. Before I go through it all, I just want to clarify a few things, because I probably am confusing everyone. I'm referring to this relay as powering the starter. That's not what I meant, sorry. The relay is sending power to the starter solenoid. The starter of the solenoid then connects, and that then makes the connection within the starter that then allows this main power cable running to the starter to power and fire the starter motor. And that cable is this one, that's that. So it's a big chunky cable, a lot of power going through there. The power I'm getting from the ignition is very, very low amps, and the power I'm asking to this relay then to power, again, is low amps, just enough to fire the solenoid, the starter solenoid. So sorry if I was confusing things a little bit before. Anyway. Right, so yes, we were basically, what the issue was, off the 12 volts, it wasn't enough to power this relay, was it? Anyway, like I said, I found another source of 12 volts from this ignition. And guess what? I'm going to show you something, and it's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Are you ready? Make sure it's in neutral. First click, ignition lights on. Perfect. Second click. And it starts off the key. Starts off the key. How amazing is that? Lights up the dash. How amazing is that? We've got it starting off the key. And it turns off on as well. Perfect. Perfect. I'm so happy. There appears to be no fuel in it, so I've turned it off, and there's no coolant anyway. That is an amazing place to get to. So what does that mean now going forwards? It means I've got a lot of wires down here. I don't know what to do what. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 spare cores there. But don't forget, this is from a keyless car, so there's a lot of control modules missing from that system, but we've basically bypassed it all, and it's all working off the key, which is exactly what I wanted to do. That is really good, that. So going forwards now, everything I've made here, I basically need to make into a more permanent, tidy solution, and I want to check up on what I will do tomorrow when I've got someone else with me. I'm going to check just how many amps all this cabling is pulling, just to make sure all these spade fittings and the connections are all up to spec. I know the wiring is perfectly fine. I think I'm going to find that there's not a lot of amps being pulled through all this, and then it's going to be a case of making it more permanent. And like I said, I'm hoping I can tuck this relay inside of this fuse box and then bring the wiring out and follow it all along with the loom, tape it to the loom in nice black fabric tape, exactly the same as original, all the way into the car, so then it's going to look like it's completely factory. And what I might also do, where I've got it just connected straight onto the trigger, I might cut and reuse. In fact, I'm going to cut and reuse the original plug, because it's all waterproof. That'll be really nice. By the time I finish, you'll never know it's been done. It's going to look perfect. Really happy. And then from there, like I said, we need to get it on that ramp and find out about this tank malfunction, because I think that is the only fault. When I went on it with a scanner, I knew what everything else was. Very easy to fix. It's just that tank malfunction. Because I'm a bit sceptical of building up anything inside until I know what that is. But yeah, that is the plan really. In the next video, we're going to get it out of this space on the ramp, find out about this tank malfunction and make a start, or put all the interior back together, because that's going to be, oh sorry, I've got a bit of sniffles, that's going to be a mission in itself, because I have no chance of remembering where everything goes, especially behind that dash, because the dashboard's still out obviously. What's this thing? What's that? Oh right, that's that, okay. Oh, sniffles, needs to blow my nose. Yeah, all them wires behind the dashboard are going to be real good fun. But I want to get on with this because it's starting to go mouldy. And I don't want to let it get a grip. At the moment it's just surface. So that is great. We can now continue with this car. That was the key. And yeah, it's took me a bit to get my head around it all. But I think this is all good. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this video. I'm going to get this video uploaded for you guys to watch, because I know there's quite a lot of people that are way more intelligent than me about auto electrics, electronics, whatever. And I'd like your opinions basically on what I've done. Are we happy with it all? Does it all look safe? That's the main thing, safe. Obviously what I will include, which I haven't yet, is in fact I don't need to now, because I haven't ran that power in. I'm only coming out back off its original 12 volts, so I don't need any inline fuses there. In terms of this 30 amp fuse I've got inline going to the starter solenoid, that's massively overkill. I'll have a look into how much starter solenoids pull, and I will downgrade that fuse drastically, because I don't need 30 amps going to starter solenoid when the actual starter motor itself is only run off 30 amps. Does that all make sense? And yeah, that is great. So happy. Alright, so this video probably won't appeal to all of you, but it's something we had to do. And then the next one, there'll be a lot more, you know, going on. But again, some of you I bet you will have enjoyed this. It's a technical one, and I've been learning on the fly, so please do cut me a little bit of slack. Like I said, I'm no auto electronics expert. It's completely different to house wiring, completely different. So yeah, that's going to be it. Let's just do it one more time, just because we can, basically. Just because I can. Ignition on, and brum, brum, brum. Yes. Like I said before, I'm well aware that I've bypassed clutch pedal sensor, and if there was one on the gears, I presume it's just clutch. But I mean, there is no reason why, if I want to, I can wire that clutch pedal sensor back in quite easily. All I would need to do would be to put the clutch pedal sensor in line of this trigger going to the relay. The pedal sensor is very hard to get to. It's way down there behind the turbo, which has got a little bit warm. But it can be done. Am I really that bothered? I don't know. I'll have a think about it. But yeah, like I said, any advice, any comments, obviously constructive. Don't just say, oh, you don't know what you're doing, or anything like that, because I know that already. I don't need to be told. Anyone who thinks there's improvements I can make, or if there's anything I've missed, a fundamental error, please do say something. And I want it to be right, you see. So yeah, thank you for being patient with this one. Thank you for watching. And the next video, we will get this car out of this corner, and we will proceed and build it up. Can't wait.